And Spencer Critchley is the author of Patriots of Two Nations. He joins us now from Monterey in California. All right, Spencer, let's talk about Trump's popularity and what the polls show. I mean, they do show that there's strong support for him. However, as we were just talking about it, he hasn't recently, at least, been able to draw these huge, boisterous crowds. Does that tell us anything going into the next election?
It's hard to be sure. I think that one of the reasons that those crowds are so much smaller and so much less energetic is that the arrests of thousands of rioters after the Capitol coup attempt and the jailing of many of them, some of them on very serious charges, has sent the message to people who thought it might be fun to be violent, even in showing their support for Donald Trump, that they still do live in a world of reality where there are consequences for their actions. And I think that may have dampened some of that sort of thing. But those poll numbers are not to be dismissed. And neither should we dismiss the fact that he remains the leader of one of our two major parties. And that party continues to show that as long as he remains popular, they will follow him. He's quite likely to become the nominee in 2024. And I think the greatest danger here is that this is not a contest between Democrats and Republicans or the traditional left and right. This is a conflict between two completely different views of America, two visions of what America should be. And this is what I describe at length in my book. Is this a civic nation founded on the Constitution, meaning a country that's based on ideas where anybody can be an American if they're loyal to the Constitution, believe in its ideas? Or is it an ethnic nation made up only of so-called real Americans? That is the vision that Donald Trump is promoting and exploiting as a classic ethnic nationalist authoritarian. And it's a direct assault on democracy. And this is a crucial decision point in American history. We simply must reject that dark vision, as your reporter describes it, for the United States. Otherwise, we really will become quite similar to Russia, the country that Trump admires so much under another ethnic nationalist authoritarian, Vladimir Putin.
You know, Spencer, on the one hand, as usual, you have people saying those things that, you know, Trump lied constantly. What he did was assault democracy. Now these are criminal investigations against him. And on the other hand, you have him and his supporters saying this is made up and it's absolutely political. But when you look at the indictment, 34 felony charges showing that he paid off not just one person, but multiple people. Does that have any effect on people who would have otherwise supported him, do you think?
Oh, I don't think so. And I think that that's been demonstrated long since. This is something that's very hard for people who believe in the civic nation version of the United States to wrap their minds around, because that vision comes out of the Enlightenment triumph of reason, essentially. And people who support civic nationalism tend to live in a world dominated by reason. This world of ethnic nationalism is pre-modern. It's really got much more in common with the Middle Ages. And this is personal loyalty, essentially, to a tribal leader or a king with Trump. And in that worldview, mere words, mere facts and logic are puny things compared to your mystical faith in this mystically powerful leader. The fact that Trump repeatedly loses, by the way, and repeatedly finds himself facing charges, for example, like he did today, feeds into the mystique, because this kind of figure operates purely symbolically. He's both the eternal victim and the eternal victor. And so really, living in a world like that, he really almost can't lose with his supporters. Anything that happens can be spun into this mystical narrative of grievance and power.
You know, for years, while he was president, while he was running for president, and then afterwards among his supporters, whenever he would speak, he would have these chants of "lock her up," referring to Hillary Clinton and alleging that she committed crimes as well as her husband. So if those supporters believe in a justice system that they want to see lock up Trump's opponents, why do they not believe that there is justice, that there's, you know, a legitimate court system that would find evidence against Donald Trump? How do you square those two things?
This is the difference between these two worldviews. It's really completely different modes of thought. And this is what rational thinkers have so much trouble imagining. It's much more akin to religious faith. You know, if you walked into a church or a mosque or a synagogue and you told the faithful in that building, listen, there's no scientific evidence for these beliefs you're professing in here, you would rapidly find out just how unconvincing a message like that would be. This is a world that is separate from and in many ways for the people who are immersed in it beyond rational argument. And so there is no rational argument that it's going to dissuade them from their faith in Donald Trump. Another aspect about this that happens with authoritarian leaders is that it's really not so much about persuasion as permission. There are many things that people want to believe, but don't feel they have social permission to believe. And a typical characteristic of ethnic nationalist authoritarians, fascists is the short term for this, as in the Mussolini of Mar-a-Lago, who we see here, is that they give their followers permission to indulge their worst impulses under the guise of a moralistic crusade to supposedly save the nation from the evil forces assaulting it.
All right, Spencer Critchley, author of Patriots of Two Nations. Really good to talk to you. Thanks.
Thank you.